Hollywood's and the gaming industry's, to be fair, obsession with regurgitating its greatest hits is starting to get a bit, well, weird. We've moved into a timeline now where originality seems less valuable than nostalgia, and where every successful story is destined to be replicated, reimagined or reheated, often to lukewarm effect. Enter legendary director Ridley Scott's latest movie, Gladiator 2. Look, I'm going to be direct. This film, it's pretty good, but it's not great. In fact, it's that frustrating middle ground that makes audiences tear their hair out. A perfectly servable piece of cinema that ultimately answers the question nobody was asking: do we really need another version of this story? And what story is that? Well, Gladiator 2 takes place 16 years after the first film. Lucius Verus, played by Paul Mescal, once nephew of Joaquin Phoenix's Emperor, is living under an alias when he finds his life dramatically altered when Roman general Marcus Acacius, played by Pedro Pascal, conquers his homeland. Enslaved and forced into gladiatorial combat, Lucius impresses power broker Macrinus, played by Denzel Washington, who promises him a chance of revenge against Acacius if he continues to win in the arena. Meanwhile, in Rome, twin emperors Geta and Caracalla, played by Joseph Quinn and Fred Hetchinger, organise games to celebrate Acacius's military victory. During these celebrations, Lucilla, sister of Phoenix's emperor, played again here by Connie Nielsen, watches Lucius fight and begins to suspect his true identity, arranging to meet him in secret. With political intrigue bubbling away, spearheaded by Lucilla and Acacius, and the people becoming disillusioned with their twin leaders, will Lucius finally discover his true heritage? Will Lucilla's political plot succeed? And will Rome itself survive its corrupt leadership? Russell Crowe won the Best Actor Oscar for his performance in the first Gladiator film. As an actor I don't particularly rate, I can still admit that he deserved that one. I will be astonished if anyone in Gladiator 2 even gets a nomination. That's not to say the acting in this film is bad, well, apart from one exception. It's just that no performances really stand out. Lead Paul Mescal shouts and whispers his way through the role, but never quite has the gravitas of Crowe. He looks like what he is, a Gen Z actor reaching for authority, and it never really works. The two emperors are like thrift shop versions of Phoenix. Pedro Pascal does a decent job in his role as the General Acacius, bringing the gravitas that Mescal lacks, but the pick of the bunch, as expected, is probably Denzel Washington. This is far from his best performance, but at least he's interesting to watch. He plays his role like he's in a Shakespearean play, storming over the stage, and it brings his character to life. I suspect his is the role most will remember. That is, of course, unless Connie Nielsen's terrible acting in the role of Lucilla sticks in their mind instead. I hate to really rag on an actor, as I'd be about as good at acting as a coat hanger in a sock drawer, but Nielsen just doesn't have the ability to hang with the rest of the cast in Gladiator 2. She got away with the first film as she had very little to say and spent most of it giving wistful looks, but she plays a much bigger part here and it exposes her horribly. Technically, I think the film is really strong. Like pretty much every Ridley Scott movie I've seen, it looks great. CGI has obviously come on a long way since the early 2000s, and Gladiator 2's version of Rome has a realism the first film would have envied. There is some dodgy CGI on some animal scenes I don't want to spoil, but if you can overlook that, the costumes and armour are fantastic again, the set dressing too. The fight scenes are kinetic and muscular, so you can see every strike of sword and spear. It really looks like a fight rather than a choreographed dance, and I commend them for that. Harry Gregson Williams returns again for the score, which is as spine-tingling as the first time around, even if to achieve that it reuses many musical pieces. Gladiator 2 is never boring either. The pacing is strong thanks to a script that shifts easily between the blood and sweat of the Colosseum and the shadows and daggers of the Senate. Thematically, the film covers a lot of the same ground as the first one. Let's be honest, in fact it's exactly the same ground. But it's maturely done and is a refreshing break from many modern movies. I'm going to miss Ridley Scott and his writers when he's gone. But this rehashing of pretty much everything really is the problem with Gladiator 2. It's about the fundamental creative bankruptcy of just repeating something that was good the first time. Like a cover band trying to recreate a classic rock performance. Technically proficient, but a bit soulless. Hollywood has become an Ouroboros, a snake endlessly consuming its own tail, terrified of risk. And Gladiator 2 is the perfect microcosm of that phenomenon. Every beat feels familiar, every twist telegraphed. You could practically write the plot with your eyes closed if I gave you the characters and their archetypes. It's absolutely watchable, it's entertaining, but is it necessary? Not really. And it's a shame too, as I think had it not been such a rehash, we might be talking glowingly of a return to the Hollywood epic, a genre I personally miss a lot. In an industry drowning in nostalgia, we're losing something crucial, the electricity of genuine surprise. Not every story needs to be told again, not every hit needs a sequel. Go and watch it deserves that, but just know that you'll feel like you've seen this one before. Anyway, nothing more to say, this is Movie Maverick, signing out.